do a guided, teacher-led practice. And we're going to make two forms that are cube. Oh, I already wrote it right here. And we're going to draw one below horizon line, and two, the second one, will be above the horizon line. And we're focused on line, shape, value to enhance form, mass, volume. Okay, let's get started. All right, we are going to be using a couple of things that are noted here. We're going to be using a ruler, and I'm going to show you a way that you can use the ruler in a very different way than what you may be accustomed to. We're going to use a 6x9 toned paper. We're going to use a regular pencil, which will give us a dark, and we're going to use a white pencil, which will give us a light, because remember, we're focused on value. So to begin, I want to emphasize that we have step-by-step instructions if you need this to refer to, or as you're following along with this guided lesson, I want you to please make notes that will help you to remember as a resource for yourself. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 6x9. I chose this piece, toned paper. And the reason we're thinking about toned paper is so that we can add light and add dark. Because this is a medium tone, we can use the white pencil to add a light, which I will do right here to demonstrate. That's a light value. It's just a different approach. And I'll use my regular pencil to create my dark. And the medium tone, I can leave the paper without shading it, just the way it is. All right, so I think I'll use my paper this way to create my two forms. And the first thing I need, according to this, is a horizon line and a vanishing point. That's step one. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, and here's where I want to pause and talk about the ruler. When we want to do horizontal parallel lines, the best way to do it without getting a crooked line like this would produce is I use the side of my ruler. The side of my ruler has a right angle right here. This is a right angle and this. So horizontal, vertical. If I line that up with the side of my paper carefully, then I have a pretty good chance of making my line correctly horizontal. So I'm going to put my horizon line there. I also want to mention the reason that we want to keep it flush is typically we would use a tool like this, which is called a T-square, and we would just move the T-square like so up and down the paper to give us all the horizontals, and we'd use that in combination with a triangle to give us all our vertical lines, and we would just move it side to side. See how that works? Now, in the absence of having T-squares and triangles, because of the way we're sitting in a desk that has, four people, we'll just use our ruler flush with the side of the paper. And every time we want to make a vertical, we'll use the ruler flush with the top of the paper. Okay, so I have my horizon line. Now I need a vanishing point. There. I'm ready to go with linear perspective. And we're looking at what perspective gives us is different views. I before E, except after C. 2 views, above and below. Okay, so the first thing we want to do to construct our form is to create one face of the form. And if we're thinking about a cube has 6 sides. This eraser is sort of a cube. Top, bottom, 2, 3, 4, side to side, 5, 6. A cube is made up of 6 sides. So the front of the cube is what I'm going to refer to as the face of the form. And sometimes I do that just to make my point. But then I'm going to erase it so that everybody doesn't have faces on the forms. Okay? So in order to draw 2 really good right angle faces, I'm going to use my ruler flush with the side and draw the top and the bottom neatly, lightly, horizontal, and I'm also going to draw on this side of the vanishing point the base of another form. And by the way, I think I'm going to make this one a little longer and wider, and this one I'm going to redraw and make it go down a little lower. Okay? Always check your ruler to see that it's properly positioned. And the next thing I'm going to do is draw the vertical parallel lines. So I have 2 horizontal and 2 vertical will make the face or front. So flush with the top of my paper, I'm going to connect the 2 parallel lines there. 2 parallel lines connect. It's very important to take your time, and it's very important to be neat, because one little hair off out of place will make the whole thing kind of look funny. Okay, now I have 2 neatly drawn fronts or faces of my form. Now linear perspective, we're using 1 point because we have 1 vanishing point. I'm going to connect this point, and this point to my vanishing point. This corner, this corner, this corner to my vanishing point. Just those ones that are going to do it without crossing over the face, because I want my form to be solid. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to work a little faster now, but I encourage you to keep making sure that your ruler is lined up carefully. This one's going to be really tricky because it's very tight there. This is when a mechanical pencil is perfect, actually. So if you have a mechanical pencil, I recommend using it for the line part. Okay, there's that one. Now I'm going to connect these. And just to be very neat, I'm going to go ahead and connect. That one was a little off, actually. There. And this one there. Okay. So now I have just made 3, 1, 2, 3 orthogonal lines. And those lines are orthogonal, not diagonal, because they go to the vanishing point. Now, to close off this never-ending form, I decide where I'm going to add my third horizontal. I'm going to add one here, and I'm going to add one vertical, giving me 3. So notice the pattern, 3, 3, 3. Anywhere I want, I can use my ruler flush with the side of the paper, and I can make the top of my form right about, it's up to me where I want to do it, connecting these 2 orthogonal lines. I can even go up to this one and take care of the base of this form by connecting these 2 orthogonal lines while I have my ruler positioned flush with the side of the paper. So now I have a new point, and that point here and that point here is going to line up to connect. Let me do this, flush with the top of the paper now. I'm going to line up my ruler with that corner, and I'm going to draw the line down. And this one, I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to draw my line going up. Now, this is the time when I can clean up, erasing my construction lines because they have done their job and they're interfering with my ability to see how my forms don't need them anymore. They're existing, all drawn and complete. Now, I just turned on the light by mistake. The final thing is value. So I have to think, where is my light coming from? And I'm going to say it's coming from above, and so that informs where I place my lights. So it would be hitting the top of this form here, and it would probably be hitting the face of this form here. So I'm going to go ahead, wish that light didn't go on actually, and add a light value, really coloring it in completely, not trying to shade, and I'm going to add a light here to this side of the form. Completely done. And I'm going to think, where would the darkest side be of my form? And I'm going to think probably down here would be the darkest, and this might be the darkest point side. I mean, I suppose you could argue, but I'm going to make my dark. This is going to take a little more effort to add in a darker tone value to my paper here. Boom. And I just wanted to show you this so you'd really understand the value of value for enhancing the illusion of the three-dimensional mass quality illusion of that form. And you can work back and forth until you get it just right. And same for this one, but I'm leaving the neutral color as a medium tone here and working that carefully, corner to corner, very carefully adding my shade, my tone, my dark, without messing up my line. It's not easy. So take some time, do a careful job. Now, the part that you're going to do for your final assignment is you're going to add to this work. I'm sorry, not to this work. You're going to get a new piece of paper and you're going to draw 5 forms. And I want you to think about, what can you add? What kind of creative idea can you add to your forms after you've drawn them, and make them personal, make them unique, make them fun, interesting. And there are some different ideas that I've shared on the Google Doc, or the slide deck, I should say. Some people have people, things, creatures coming out, going through. So using, again, all those prepositions to think about what you can do to this. Another thing you can do, I'll just make little stars here. So to add a personal touch, you can connect them with some sort of line or arrows or using symbols. Wouldn't it be fun to, even if you wanted to add some, I don't know, some detail, and you wanted to think about how you can do different things to enhance your work and make it really interesting. Also thinking about what can you add to the space. Would you want it to be a landscape, a seascape, cityscape, interior, fantasy? There are so many possibilities, and the only limit is your own imagination. So think about it, play with it on your practice. Glue this into your sketchbook using a glue stick, so you have your own little directions. I'm sure this is something you could practice again and again, but really making your lines flush so you don't end up with this, because these lines we saw yesterday are not parallel and they're not horizontal, and that's why they look kind of off. All right, and you can always do that by checking before you draw and making adjustments. Always, always, always draw light until you get it right. Have fun, be creative. Oh yeah, that's it.